The sand sea dunes, in which the famous Dead Valley is located, qualified through the 1972 UN Convention as having outstanding universal value, thus its listing on the World Heritage Site.
A desert so ancient it has endured for over 55 million years, older than the Himalayas themselves. The Namib Desert is more than a barren landscape. It is a living time capsule filled with mysteries of survival, time, and nature's extremes. Here, ancient trees have stood preserved for centuries. Shipwrecks lie buried beneath endless dunes, and strange perfect circles mark the sand without easy explanation. From hidden chambers to impossible life forms, the Namib is a world of paradoxes waiting to be uncovered. The ancient desert mystery. The Namib Desert is unlike any other desert on Earth. Stretching for roughly 2,000 kilometers along the Atlantic coast of Namibia and Angola, it covers an area close to 80,000 square kilometers. What truly sets it apart, however, is its incredible age. Unlike many deserts that have come and gone with shifting climates, the Namib has existed continuously as an arid region for over 55 million years. To put that in perspective, it was already a desert, while the mighty Himalayas were still being formed by tectonic collisions far to the north. This astonishing age makes the Namib the oldest desert on the planet. But its endurance raises a fundamental question. How has this extreme environment remained so consistently dry for tens of millions of years? The answer lies partly in a unique combination of geography and climate. Cold ocean currents, towering dunes, and persistent coastal fog all play roles in shaping this seemingly inhospitable landscape. Yet, these factors alone don't explain the desert's long-term stability. Within this vast and ancient landscape, nature has created some of the most striking and even surreal environments on Earth. Giant red sand dunes tower up to 300 meters high, among the tallest in the world, glowing with intense brick-red hues that shift through the day's light. Beneath this striking visual backdrop, there is a deeper story waiting to be uncovered, one of survival, geological secrets, and hidden histories that rewrite what we thought we knew about deserts. What happened here 50 million years ago, and how has this desert preserved such unique phenomena that defy normal decay and erosion? The Namib's harsh conditions are thought to sterilize and preserve objects much better than typical deserts. The answers come from examining the desert's internal mysteries: ancient trees standing petrified, towns swallowed by sand, and even shipwrecks resting silently beneath dunes. These clues offer a window into how life and human history endured, and sometimes struggled, in this relentless environment. This desert, called Namib, which means vast place in the local Kwaiko language, is not just a barren wasteland. It is an archive of time, almost frozen by extreme dryness and intense sunlight. Surprisingly, some of its oldest natural and man-made relics remain visible today, inviting us to unravel their stories. But we have only begun to grasp the full complexity hidden in these shifting sands. Scientists have long pondered the puzzle. How does something so ancient maintain such a fragile balance? The answer is multi-layered, involving atmospheric phenomena, oceanic influences, and geological stability. Yet more mysteries unfold as you explore deeper. The desert is less lifeless than it appears. Instead, it quietly hosts ecosystems and relics that deeply challenge our assumptions about desert environments. To fully appreciate this enigmatic landscape, we must step closer to its heart, a place where time itself seems to hold still. The deeper secrets of the Namib are not visible at first glance but reveal themselves through layers of earth, history, and biology, encased in scenes that are as haunting as they are beautiful. What follows will take you through some of these astonishing revelations, where ancient nature meets human history in a desert like no other. From the vast expanse of ancient dunes and dry plains, we move to a mysterious clay pan that holds perhaps the Namib's most haunting symbol of time's standstill: dead trees of Dead Valley. At the heart of the Namib Desert, hemmed in by those towering red dunes, there is a chalk-white clay pan called Dead Valley. People say it used to be greener, like a wetland, fed by a river that crossed through the desert. But roughly 900 years ago, the sand dunes shifted and kinda clogged the river route, so the water supply was cut off, and the place turned into a dry basin. Now what you see are dozens of camel thorn trees, dark and skeletal, still standing straight up on the split white clay, like ghostly relics, frozen there, in time. These trees are kinda stunning because they've somehow defied decay for centuries, and it's not just a little bit either. Usually dead wood that gets left out in the open will break down pretty fast, but the blackened camel thorn trees at Dead Valley haven't rotted a single millimeter in 900 years. And it's basically because the conditions are, let's say, very strict. Almost zero humidity, strong ultraviolet sunlight, and a near-sterile setting that blocks microbial decomposition. So in a way, the trees were just mummified right where they stood, their branches reaching upward like ancient sculptures made of carbonized wood. The visual contrast is, honestly, wild. You get glossy, white cracked clay, jet-black tree skeletons, and red-orange dunes piling up around you, like 300 meters on all sides. Photographers from all over the place often end up struggling to fit the scale and those surreal colors into one single frame. It's not like other desert scenery. It gives off this feeling of time being frozen, which is pretty breathtaking, but also a little eerie too. The clay pan, by the way, throws the sunlight back so hard that by noon it's almost unbearable to look at it without dark glasses. Dead Valley is more than just a natural spectacle. It kinda stands for the staying power and the delicate fragility of life when everything is pushed to the edge. You can see how the desert's own forces turned a once-living ecosystem into a quiet burial ground and still managed to keep it almost too well. So it becomes this strong proof about environmental shift. Those trees are basically like quiet monuments to a moment when water really shaped the land. And now it is long gone under years of stubborn desert heat. Scientists also look at Dead Valley as a kind of natural workshop for figuring out how deserts affect preservation. Since living organisms that usually break down organic matter are missing, the place almost locks that time in place. It messes with what we think about dying and decomposition, because here the act of dying stopped, at least for the most part, nearly right away, and that makes the local natural story feel like a still operating museum. Still, the whole Dead Valley and trees thing is only one slice of a wider story about how the Namib Desert keeps its secrets. Nearby human history and geology keep adding to this theme of endurance and change. Buried towns and sunken treasures sit beside those silent trees, and they sort of invite you to wonder how people once tried to live and prosper in the timeless sands. While the dead trees of Dead Valley physically rise from the desert floor, human ghosts linger just a few kilometers away, swallowed slowly by the desert's unyielding grip, the abandoned diamond town. About 10 kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean lies Kolmenskop, an abandoned diamond mining town that tells a story of sudden wealth and gradual desert reclamation. Founded in 1908 after a worker discovered a diamond simply lying in the sand, Kolmenskop quickly blossomed into a small but lively settlement. At its peak, the town boasted around 1,300 residents and was equipped with a hospital, a theater, a school, a casino, and even a bowling alley. A striking contrast to the barren surroundings. Imagine bowling lanes in the middle of a desert, where temperatures soar to 40 degrees Celsius and water is scarce for hundreds of kilometers. This reveals the extent of human ambition to impose comfort and normal life in one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. Kolmenskop had its own power station and infrastructure that served the diamond rush, turning what was once only shifting dunes into a bustling hub. However, the town's prosperity was short-lived. Richer diamond deposits were discovered farther south, drawing residents away slowly but steadily. There was no panic or sudden exodus, just a gradual migration toward new opportunities. By 1956, the final resident locked the door behind them, leaving Kolmenskop to be reclaimed by the desert. Since then, sand dunes have been creeping back through windows and doorways, inching into rooms year after year. In some places, sand piled so high it reached windowsills or nearly filled entire rooms, leaving ceilings and even chandeliers suspended above a desert floor made of sand. Wallpaper fades on cracked walls, wooden parquet remains beneath layers of sand, and door handles still cling to their hinges as if waiting for owners who will never return. Kolmanskop stands today as a ghostly reminder of human efforts to tame the desert and the relentless power of nature to take back what was once hers. Buried literally beneath the town are diamond-bearing layers, and the entire area remains an active diamond mining zone, governed by complex legal controls. It is a place of both historical intrigue and ongoing economic significance. This abandoned town, swallowed by sand, shows how the Namib Desert does not merely erase the past, it preserves it in a unique way. The ruins, frozen between desert encroachment and past prosperity, create a surreal scene where time seems simultaneously paused and ongoing. Kolmanskop reflects another face of the Namib's secrets, where natural forces intertwine with human history in a desert that never forgets. From these ghostly halls filled with sand, our gaze turns toward the unforgiving coastline, where the desert's hold extends into the ocean itself and conceals sunken ships beneath its relentless dunes. The Skeleton Coast's sunken ships. Stretching along almost 500 kilometers of northern Namibia's Atlantic edge, there's this infamous Skeleton Coast. And honestly, the name alone pulls you in, like danger and mystery are already in the air. Long ago, early Portuguese sailors called it Gates of Hell, while local communities preferred the land god created in anger. Both labels manage to fit way too well with what's actually there. A mix of deadly seas, thick coastal mist, and that uncompromising desert, which turns the coastline into a kind of ship graveyard. Not loud about it either, just waiting. A big reason is the Benguela Current, a cold ocean flow that moves northward from the Antarctic. It keeps laying a dense, bone-chilling fog over everything, almost like it's trying to smother the horizon. Visibility can drop to only a few meters, so steering becomes a gamble, and people can't see what's coming. Under all that murky water, there are hidden sandbanks, shifting shallows, small traps that sit there until a vessel drifts too close. So ships end up running aground, quietly. In that fog, victims of obstacles they can't even properly spot, with rough seas adding insult after insult. Once a crew gets stranded, the outcome is usually bleak. Behind the shore is endless desert sand, scorching heat, and not much of anything useful. No fresh water, no real route toward help for hundreds of kilometers. The sea's cold grip doesn't offer safety or comfort, and the desert's hard indifference means that trying to cross inland is basically a countdown. Over the years, entire fleets have been taken by both sand and surf, and they just rot where they sank, as if the coast is collecting them for later. What's left along the Skeleton Coast today are kind of rusted hulks, half buried in dunes, or just sitting a few meters from the shore. Some of them lie partly underwater, and their iron ribs corrode quietly under the sun and the sand. Others sit there silently, way out from the water, slowly taken over by dunes that have been creeping inland for decades. Those iron remains still act like a chilling sort of reminder of the lethal tango between man, the sea, and the desert. In 2008, during diamond mining activities, something really special came up out of the ground. A Portuguese ship that had been resting beneath the sands for almost 500 years. This remarkable discovery also turned up cargo that was surprisingly intact, like copper ingots, gold coins, ivory tusks, and various weaponry. It became one of the major underwater archaeology moments in Africa's history. The recovery itself was accidental, but still it was hugely valuable because it helped explain early seafaring and trade, and also how dangerous this stretch of coast can be. Even with all that, lots of shipwrecks are still out there, hidden beneath layers of sand and sediment. Nobody really knows the exact number of wrecks along the Skeleton Coast, because the desert keeps reclaiming its dead at its own slow pace. This odd meeting place of ocean and desert keeps secrets tucked away under the dunes, in a similar way to what happens on the seafloor too. So mysteries stay guarded until the right timing or the right technology finally shows up. This haunting landscape stretches to the southern edge of the Namib, where a striking settlement presents a human footprint perched on the border between desert and ocean. Among the red dunes lies a surprisingly vibrant town that continues the story of human presence amid this challenging environment. German colonial legacy in Lüderitz. Founded in 1883, Lüderitz is a town that feels like a slice of Europe, transplanted to the edge of one of the harshest deserts in the world. German architecture lines its streets, half-timbered houses, a Lutheran church adorned with stained glass windows imported directly from Germany, and a train station with colonial-era clocks that have ticked through more than a century. This city stands as a living reminder of Southwest Africa's colonial past, where culture and environment collide in striking contrast. Walking through Lüderitz today, you hear German spoken on the streets, and you find bakeries selling traditional German treats like strudel and marzipan. The precise decorative details on mansard roofs and the whitewashed customs house with green shutters show a meticulousness rarely seen so far from the banks of the Rhine. These architectural pieces are genuine and not mere replicas or reconstructions. Lüderitz is a living, breathing German enclave in Namibia. Its location is dramatic, set on a rocky coast where the cold Atlantic meets towering red dunes heated to temperatures over 50 degrees Celsius in summer. The juxtaposition of ice-cold ocean breezes and blazing desert heat creates a climate both brutal and extraordinary. Yet, the people here have adapted, weaving a unique culture that balances heritage and environment. Surrounding Lüderitz is a vast restricted area known as the Sperrgebiet, a forbidden diamond zone strictly controlled by permits and closed to most outsiders, including scientists and journalists. Within this cordoned-off region lie decades-old abandoned settlements, rusted infrastructure, and secret mining operations. What lies within remains a guarded mystery, as the controlling companies reveal little about ongoing diamond extraction and discoveries. This secrecy adds to the intrigue surrounding this part of Namibia, where nature and human endeavor intersect under layers of legal and geological complexity. The diamond wealth beneath the sand represents both fortune and strict environmental management, shaping the region's economy and landscape for over a century. Lüderitz itself functions as a gateway between the natural wonders of the Namib and the complex human history tethered tightly to its harsh terrain. Its colonial architecture reflects resilience and nostalgia, while just beyond its limits, nature holds on to secrets in the red dunes and forbidden zones. As we leave Lüderitz's vivid blend of German culture and desert terrain, we are drawn back into the vast natural phenomena that define the Namib Desert's identity. Enigmatic formations, ancient legends, and astonishing adaptations that bring this landscape to life in unexpected ways. Namib's enigmatic fairy circles. Sprawling across the Namib Desert, and also in bits of Angola, there's this phenomenon that keeps baffling scientists and travelers in equal measure. Thousands of perfectly round, no-vegetation patches, basically called fairy circles. They're bare circles, typically from about 2 to 12 meters across, and each one is encircled by a sort of halo, ringed with taller and greener grass. When you look down from the sky, the shapes line up into giant honeycomb-type arrangements stretching for over 2,000 kilometers along the coast. In some spots, there can be literally thousands clustered together, almost like someone laid them out on purpose. At first, the whole mystery about where these circles came from kinda kicked off wild theories, like extraterrestrial goings-on, or mystical stuff that people just couldn't leave alone. But then more serious scientists started looking at it, and the story got way more grounded, more based on evidence, not vibes. By 2017, the main idea that lots of folks leaned on was that termite activity was behind it. In that version, subterranean termite colonies go through and clear out vegetation right inside and around their nests, so you end up with those bare spots. The thinking was that this helps the termites conserve moisture, even if the surroundings are basically bone dry most of the time. Still, that termite explanation didn't hold up cleanly for long. Similar fairy circles have turned up in parts of Australia and also in the Western Sahara, places where those exact termites aren't present. That pretty strongly hints at a different mechanism, or at least something else working alongside it. In fact, researchers started to suspect it might not be a single cause at all, but several natural processes that can produce very similar patterns when water scarcity gets extreme. A pretty convincing alternative focuses on how plants, on their own, can self-organize. In dry regions, competing plants may end up arranging themselves into circular layouts because it's a kind of mathematically optimal move for survival with very little water. So the circles wouldn't just be left behind by animals, but rather could emerge from a complicated tug-of-war, competition mixed with cooperation between neighboring vegetation. Over generations, natural selection would favor the arrangements that waste the least water, and that's how you get a repeating spatial pattern. Basically, nature showing its efficient side when resources are scarce. For local peoples, fairy circles have long been stitched into cultural tales or treated like sacred spaces, you know. Scientists, on the other hand, keep studying them, often mixing satellite imagery, field surveys, and ecological modeling, just trying to get closer to the true origin. So even if we never fully agree on the cause, the circles still work as a striking reminder that the desert has a complex underground life, unseen yet somehow tightly organized. These geometric scenes interrupt the desert's monotony, and they show that life can impose order, even where conditions are really hard. Their continuing mystery also pushes you to wonder about other hidden landscapes under the sand, places where survival strategies become encoded in shapes and in repeated rhythms, too. From these intriguing earth patterns, our attention turns toward the living life forms that defy dryness and flourish within the Namib's challenging embrace. Nature's adaptations to aridity. The Namib Desert is not just a land of sand and rock. It is a cradle for remarkable life forms uniquely adapted to survive where water is nearly non-existent. One of its most iconic plants is the welwitschia, a species unlike any other on Earth. Growing only 2 leaves that stretch and tear over centuries, this slow-growing plant can live up to 2,000 years, a living testament to endurance in one of the driest places on the planet. With no flowers or additional leaves, welwitschia relies on absorbing moisture from nightly coastal fog, which rolls inland thanks to the cold Benguela current. Special pores on its leaf surfaces literally squeeze water from the humid air, transforming fog into life-sustaining moisture. This adaptation allows it to thrive when rainfall amounts only reach a few millimeters per year, far less than the water lost by evaporation each hot day. Another desert specialist is the Namib Desert beetle, an engineer of survival through physical design. Its shell alternates between hydrophilic, water-attracting, and hydrophobic, water-repelling surfaces. In the early morning fog, droplets form on the sticky parts, grow, then roll down smooth, waxy areas directly to the beetle's mouth. This elegant mechanical system requires no energy, only physical shapes and chemistry. This natural water harvesting technique has caught the attention of engineers worldwide, including NASA scientists seeking sustainable technologies to collect water in dry regions. Through studying such designs, humans aim to replicate these biological innovations, turning desert survival into practical technology. The desert's ecosystem depends heavily on this fog. If it were to vanish, many species reliant on it would collapse within a single generation. Life here is not fighting the desert. It is entwined with it, operating like a complex program built into these extreme conditions. This fragile balance highlights how desert life is precisely tuned to its environment rather than merely struggling against it. Other animals, plants, and microbes here also show incredible specializations, burrowing to escape heat, reducing water loss, or timing reproduction with rare rains. Each adaptation paints a broader picture of how life endures in what seems a lifeless landscape. Understanding these remarkable adaptations brings renewed respect for the Namib Desert's resilience and complexity, reminding us that even the most barren places harbor wonders hidden in plain sight. Beyond the famous beetle and welwitschia, the Namib is home to a surprising variety of creatures that have evolved extraordinary ways to cope with relentless heat. The shovel-snouted lizard, for example, performs a rapid thermal dance, lifting alternating feet off the scorching sand to prevent burns. Some geckos possess translucent skin and large eyes adapted for nighttime activity, allowing them to avoid the intense daytime temperatures altogether. Many desert mammals spend daylight hours in underground burrows, where temperatures remain far cooler than the surface. Even the desert's dunes participate in this intricate web of survival. The towering sand mountains constantly shift under the influence of wind, creating countless microhabitats with slightly different temperatures and moisture levels. Tiny insects, lichens, and microorganisms take advantage of these subtle variations, forming the foundation of a surprisingly productive ecosystem. Scientists continue to discover new interactions among these organisms, revealing that the Namib is far more dynamic than it first appears. As life's ingenious strategies unfold here, so do deeper geological and thermal mysteries, linking the sand to the Earth's very core in surprising ways. The Fish River Canyon Hot Springs. In the southern reaches of Namibia, not far from the border with South Africa, you'll find the Fish River Canyon, one of the world's biggest and, somehow, one of the least visited. It runs roughly 160 kilometers, drops as much as 550 meters down, and in places can reach nearly 27 kilometers across. Most travelers can only stare at that scale because it just overwhelms a lot of other canyons that get talked about. Even with all that mass, the canyon stays pretty remote, and most of it feels untouched, like it's waiting for someone patient. Getting there isn't like a quick detour, it's more for the stubborn explorers who can handle rough conditions, plus the whole thing about limited services and scarce infrastructure too. Down at the bottom, in this long, rocky corridor, hot springs keep bubbling on and on for thousands of years. The water comes up from deep underground under its own pressure, and it's heated geothermally, around 60 to 70 degrees Celsius, give or take. This is one of those natural geothermal happenings that doesn't need people. No man-made setup required. It's simply the Earth's internal heat pushing mineral-rich water upward. Then it settles into pools, sheltered under the towering canyon walls. In the early 20th century, German colonists noticed these hot springs had a kind of healing use, and then they built a sanatorium right where the canyon floor begins. People with joint troubles and also rheumatic issues would go down the steep paths to soak in the warm mineral waters beneath the sheltering stone cliffs. The place ran until 1915, when political trouble and war pushed everything to a halt. Still, even now, you can spot the leftovers of buildings and pools. Sort of, if you look. What is also strange is that the hot springs keep running without anyone tending them, and the pools stay full of warm water more than 100 years later. The water contains sulfur, fluorine, and chlorine, so it mixes into a mineral blend that took shape over ages, deep in the Earth's crust. Those chemical parts help make an environment welcoming to certain thermophilic bacteria, tiny organisms that can live and even prosper in temperatures around 60 degrees or more. And the story doesn't stop there. Enzymes made by these bacteria turned out to matter to science all over the world, mainly for molecular biology. One enzyme in particular helped build the foundations for polymerase chain reaction, or PCR, the technique that changed medical checks and DNA research everywhere. It's really something, how that trail of discovery points back to a remote desert canyon in Namibia, connecting old nature processes with modern science that people use every day. Besides their scientific and historical weight, the hot springs kind of feel like a pulse. There's this hidden life moving under the desert's skin. It's here, among broken remains and thick silence. The natural world just sort of tells you about resilience, adaptation, and a calm, stubborn continuation over what seems like geological ages. The canyon, the water, and all those half-seen mysteries, they nudge us that under landscapes that look empty, there are often layered ecosystems and unusual stories just sitting there waiting to be uncovered. For thousands of years, people probably went back to this place, because the natural warmth and the resources were right there, even with the tough surroundings. Still, exact clues about who lived here long ago are not really clear, but archaeological hints in and around the canyon suggest a deep connection between humans and this remarkable terrain. It suggests an ongoing bond between living things and harsh settings, built slowly over many lifetimes. The Fish River Canyon Hot Springs are like a final sign. A Namib Desert paradox in plain sight. A land of extremes where conditions that look hopeless actually produce some of the Earth's most intense natural wonders. From preserved trees to ghost towns, from sunken ships to living organisms, and now to the planet's deep geothermal rhythm, the Namib keeps showing that its secrets didn't vanish. They were quietly waiting for anyone willing to search, even when it seems pointless at first. This journey through the Namib Desert has shown a place that defies expectations at every turn. An ancient desert that preserves life, history, and natural wonders in extraordinary ways. Its secrets stretch across millions of years, holding clues about survival, change, and resilience that still captivate and inspire. If you enjoyed exploring this timeless landscape with me, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories from our world's hidden places.